Trump and Musk just flipped the script on the deep state, and the Democrats are losing it. The GOP just passed a budget bill that strips fraud out of the government. Democrats got caught lying about Medicaid again. Trump just held his first cabinet meeting with Elon Musk in the room. And the media? Oh, yeah, you know it. They're melting down like Frosty the Snowman in Maui during May. Roll that tape.
Hurry up. Over much of the U.S., and guess what? The House delivered on President Trump's promise, narrowly passing the one big, beautiful bill overnight, 217 to 215. One Republican voted no. Of course, no Democrats support tax cuts and spending cuts.
Yeah, so after passing a procedural vote early yesterday, Speaker Mike Johnson rounded up enough votes to carry out Trump's agenda of passing the budget resolution. Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie was the lone Republican to vote against the measure that includes trillions in tax breaks and spending cuts, and it now heads to the Senate, where Republicans are expected to take it up now.
227 to 215. And just like that, the America First agenda has taken a step forward. One Republican voted no, and the Democrats, you already know, none of them wanted to cut spending. Because this bill, it rips the Band-Aid off of their scams, where your tax dollars are funding their failures. Now that bill, it's about to head to the Senate, and trust me, that screaming is about to get louder.
Do you think Medicaid is inevitably going to be hit by these cuts they're calling for?
Look, I'm going to be very clear. You've already seen things that have come from the Republicans and the targets that have been given to different committees. Energy and Commerce, which I sit on, has that $880,000 figure that you were, billion figure that you were just talking about. There is no way to, the way that it's been laid out right now, to not cut Medicaid. And if you cut Medicaid, the president, that's why the president's saying it, because it's the largest payer for long-term care in this country. It pays for children's health care that should be able to go to the doctor when they're sick, for people with disabilities. I'm very worried about what their intent is. They haven't spelled it out, but the budget they passed last night, they've not spelled out how they're going to get there, and all the tea leaves say you're only going to get there by cutting Medicaid.
Oh, look, it's the same old script where Republicans talk about budgeting, and the next thing you know, kids are about to die and grandma got ran over by a reindeer.
You are talking about the most massive transfer of wealth and resources from poor people and the middle class to the billionaires and corporations in the history of this country, right? You're talking about $880 billion of cuts to Medicaid. Now, I get it, like $880 billion, like what does that mean, right? That's a huge number. Nobody understands. Let me tell you what that means. That means that sick kids die in this country. That means that hospitals in depressed communities, in rural communities, close their doors, right? That means that drug and addiction treatment centers disappear all across this country. That means that millions of working families who have insurance today, because by the way, 24% of Americans get their health care from Medicaid, they all of a sudden don't have their health care tomorrow.
Let's clear this up. This bill doesn't cut Medicaid benefits, but what it does cut is fraud and abuse. What they don't want you to know is that billions and billions of taxpayer dollars are going to people who aren't even eligible, including illegals. That's what they're really mad about.
Mr. President, the spending bill that passed last night aims to cut $2 trillion. Right. Can you guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question. Okay? This will not be read my lips. It won't be read my lips anymore. We're not going to touch it. Now, we are going to look for fraud. I'm sure you're okay with that, like people that shouldn't be on. People that are illegal aliens and others, criminals in many cases, and that's with Social Security. We have a lot of people. You see that immediately when you see people that are 200 years old that are being sent checks for Social Security. Some of them are actually being sent checks, so we're tracing that down, and I have a feeling that Pam is going to do a very good job with that. But you have a lot of fraud. But no, we're not doing anything on that.
$236 billion gone. Imagine watching somebody set that on fire, but they want to swear that there's nothing to cut. $50 billion in Medicaid fraud alone. That's billions and billions of dollars going to people who don't even exist anymore. But sure, keep telling the people that Republicans and conservatives are cruel for saying this should stop.
We can actually find $1 trillion in savings. That would be roughly 15% of the $7 trillion budget. And obviously that can only be done with the support of everyone in this room. And I'd like to thank everyone for your support. Thank you very much. This can only be done with your support. So it's really, DOGE is a support function for the president and for the agencies and departments to help achieve those savings and to effectively find 15% in reduction in fraud and waste. And we bring the receipts. So people say, like, well, is this real? Just go to doge.gov. We line item by line item, we specify each item. So, and I should say, we will make mistakes. We won't be perfect, but when we make a mistake, we'll fix it very quickly. So, for example, with USAID, one of the things we accidentally canceled very briefly was Ebola, Ebola prevention. I think we all want Ebola prevention. So we restored the Ebola prevention immediately, and there was no interruption. But we do need to move quickly if we're to achieve a $1 trillion deficit reduction in financial year 2026. It requires saving $4 billion per day, every day, from now through the end of September. But we can do it, and we will do it.
Now they're mad about billionaires being in government? Okay, where was that same energy when Obama was hosting Google execs every week? Elon Musk, he just said the quiet part out loud. We can cut $1 trillion in waste and fraud, and the swamp is terrified. Didn't they cheer for Elon Musk when he was pushing electric cars? But the second he started talking about common sense, suddenly he's dangerous.
This was broadcast live, for one thing. Normally these are taped and then shown later, but I think the Trump White House knows they're going to get more attention when these events are live, and they're longer as well. This is in line with Trump knowing that he doesn't just have to be president, he has to perform the presidency and have the appearance of action, the appearance of doing something at all times. It's also striking to me how he's trying to rewrite the dictionary again. You know, he did this with the word hoax, for example, years ago, trying to redefine the word hoax to mean a true story that he doesn't like. Well, the new word that's being targeted is the word fraud. When they talk about waste, fraud, and abuse, he's trying to redefine fraud as spending he doesn't like, right? Spending that he and Musk don't agree with or don't approve of. And that's the kind of spending they're targeting. It's not fraud in the criminal definition of the term, but it's spending they don't like. And it's interesting how both Trump and Musk keep going back to those kinds of words.
Wait, so now fraud doesn't mean waste, abuse, or illegal payments? What dictionary are y'all using?
I was also reminded by the famous movie line, I see dead people. It seems like Musk and Trump see dead people. They believe there are formerly alive federal employees collecting paychecks even though they're not alive anymore. And you would think there would be better ways to figure that out rather than send an email to everyone and hope they reply. But, you know, this is one of those things where Trump and Musk are doing what they call common sense, even if it's actually nonsense when you think about it. That common sense approach does appeal to a lot of people out there.
Democrats, when the government blows billions, there's nothing to see here. It's just part of the process. Democrats, when Musk and Trump say, let's clean it up, code red, threat to democracy, threat to democracy.
Can you tell us what your message is to these senators while we're walking?
I think it's really cruel to fire people for poor performance when they've only had great feedback. We've never had an issue with our performance, and we're doing work for the American public. We're here for safety, and we're patriots. We love our country. That's why we're taking these jobs that don't pay us in the private sector. I'm an accountant. I could get a private sector job tomorrow.
So let me get this straight. When local businesses closed during Biden's shutdown, nobody cared. But when the swamp creatures lose their government-funded checks, we're supposed to feel bad, right? Make it make sense. Your tax dollars should be funding things that make sense and that matter, not funding jobs that exist to make bureaucrats comfortable.
I have an idea for them. Why don't they cut the $15 billion that Musk has received in federal funding? I mean, if
what would
he
you like
cares,
to cut specifically?
I would.
Him rescuing our astronauts, giving internet to Ukraine?
No. Wait, no. He's not rescuing our.
Hold on. So Elon's programs are fine, but everybody else's programs.
No, she said she wants to cut him out of the government. He does a lot of important things. I'm just asking what you want to get rid of. We need a space program, I think.
We're not talking about a space program. I'm talking about how Elon Musk, the wealthiest person in the world, is in the federal government making decisions about grants and about funding whenever he benefits from those things. He has people in a number of government agencies, yes, it is true, including the FBI, in order to find ways to gain grants and to make more money. And are you okay with that? Is that something you're okay with?
Well,
you're for cutting. You're for cutting, but you're not for cutting Musk.
I think you're full of it. B,
no, I'm not full of it. I have sources at the FBI.
He provides all sorts of services to the government.
Just a second. We just talked about how he's receiving a grant from the FAA for Starlink right now.
Okay.
So to her point, he is receiving a grant right now in agencies that he has his hands in through DOGE. That's actually what Trump said would not happen, but it's happening.
They want Musk's government contracts pulled because he's helping Trump. But when he was getting billions from Biden, there wasn't a problem. So it's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it. It's clear. They don't care about the ethics. They only care about controlling the money. That's the game. And no faithful Scott Jennings, he just came in clutch again. They just got bodied again on CNN. Watch him struggle to respond.
Are you all saying that the government should not be able to contract with private companies for services?
No, the government shouldn't be able to contract
just not the people
with
you don't like.
who are actually working in the government.
He's not making the grants. He's not making the grant decisions.
Congress too. We had to take ethics. We had to take ethics
That's an obvious
courses.
conflict.
You can't do it. It's a conflict.
He's not making the grant decisions.
How do you know that he's not making the grant decisions, Scott?
I mean, they've said
he's over at the FAA saying he's got his hands in everything in the government, and his company gets a contract. That's a clear conflict.
How do you know that he is?
That's also
you're alleging that he is personally writing the grants for himself.
We played the sound. Donald Trump was asked by Caitlin Collins about that exact scenario. He said it wouldn't happen, and it's happening.
You're alleging that you two are alleging that he is in a government office personally writing grants to himself. I think that is a major allegation. If you're prepared to make it,
Scott,
go ahead. But I think you're out of order.
So, just a second, because Scott, we're first of all the kind of wild. If you're making that allegation, it's almost like a threat. I don't think that that's warranted in this situation. Ethics laws exist in this country, and they have for a long time. And they apply not just to people like Elon Musk, but just regular old staffers who can't go to a lunch and have someone pay for it for them because of conflict issues.
This isn't about Medicaid. This is about power. Fuerza. And the second Trump and Elon started talking about cutting waste, the swamp went nuclear. Elon Musk said the quiet part out loud. The government is robbing you blind. And the Democrats, they don't want that exposed. They're not mad because they care. They're mad because they're losing control. And this is just the beginning. So buckle up. If you missed MSNBC firing Joy Reid and her meltdown, please click that video to watch it next. Thank you. God bless.
Listen.